I'm not going to comment directly about the president, but I am going to comment as the CDC director that face masks, these face masks are the most important, powerful public health tool we have. And I will continue to appeal for all Americans, all individuals in our country, to embrace these face coverings. I've said it, if we did it for 6, 8, 10, 12 weeks, we'd bring this pandemic under control. These actually, we have clear scientific evidence, they work, and they are our best defense. I might even go so far as to say that this face mask is more guaranteed to protect me against COVID than when I take a COVID vaccine, because the immunogenicity may be 70%. And if I don't get an immune response, the vaccine's not going to protect me. This face mask will. So I do want to keep asking the American public to take the responsibility, particularly the 18 to 25-year-olds, where we're seeing the outbreak in America continue to go like this, because we haven't got the acceptance, the personal responsibility that we need for all Americans to embrace this face mask.
Tell me when you think we'll have a vaccine, as best you can, ready to administer to the public, Dr. Redfield.
Well, I think as Dr. Kayleigh said, I think there will be vaccine that initially be available sometime between November and December, but very limited supply and will have to be prioritized. If you're asking me when is it going to be generally available to the American public so we can begin to take advantage of vaccine to get back to our regular life, I think we're probably looking at late second quarter, third quarter, 2021.
And so you think by the late second and third quarter, we will have started to vaccinate people?
I think the vaccination will begin in November, December, and then we'll pick up, and it'll be in a prioritized way, those first responders and those at greatest risk for death. And then eventually that will expand. There's about, it's hard to believe, but there's about 80 million people in our country that have significant comorbidities that put themselves at risk. So
right.
They have to get vaccinated. And
then
the general public.
But I'm about to run out of time. And what do you call this effort, this worldwide effort led by the United States of America to develop a vaccine? What is the term for it?
Operation Warp Speed, sir.
Have you ever seen anything like Operation Warp Speed?
It's unprecedented.
How long?
Secondly, something else that Dr. Redfield said was that while some people in high-risk categories may receive a vaccine by the end of the year, it would likely not be until the end of the second quarter or the third quarter before vaccinations were widely available. Is the president okay with that timeline, or does he want to see a vaccine more widely available earlier than that?
We're still of the belief that we will have a vaccine by the end of the year. Operation Warp Speed has made it clear that their goal is to have more than 100 million doses. We're manufacturing in advance to make that a possibility.
Right. You indicated that, but it was the idea of the vaccine being more widely available, like a flu vaccine, not until possibly next summer or maybe even early fall.
We do believe that it will be widely available by the end of the year. It's why we've partnered with Sanofi, GSK, Pfizer, and now Johnson & Johnson with the billion-dollar contracts to manufacture 100 million doses. So we still feel that we're on the right timeline.
When you say widely available, do you mean to everyone or just people in high-risk groups?
I'm not going to engage in a hypothetical, but it's our goal to have at least 100 million in production by the end of the year. Yes.
Donald Trump's own director of CDC told us that wearing a mask is the single most important step we can take to curb this virus. Here's what he said. He said, I might go so far as to say that this face mask, and he held up a face mask, not this one, is more guaranteed to protect me against COVID than when I take a COVID vaccine, end of quote. I spoke with the experts today about additional steps we can take to prevent needless deaths and suffering between now and a universal vaccine being made available. Uniform national guidelines, they said, and standards on social distancing that can be applied to, in particular circumstances of states and communities based on their particular circumstance. More effective approaches on testing and tracing. If we do these things between now and January, we could save even more lives. Last night, Donald Trump indicated he has no interest in doing these things. Folks, the president's first responsibility is to protect the American people, and he won't. That's utterly disqualifying. I also spoke to the experts this morning about the paramount importance of preparing now for swift, organized, and free distribution of a safe and effective COVID-19 vaccine when it arrives. And I'm profoundly grateful to the scientists and the researchers working tirelessly to ensure that a safe and effective vaccine becomes a reality as soon as possible. These scientists carry the hopes of our nation, our entire nation, and the entire world. And when their work comes to fruition, and it will, there will be no doubt it will save lives. But scientific breakthroughs don't care about calendars any more than the virus does. They certainly don't adhere to election cycles. And their timing, their approval, and their distribution should never, ever be distorted by political considerations. They should be determined by science and safety alone. A vaccine would offer a way back to normalcy and a path toward better days for all of us, not only here but around the world. But it's not going to happen overnight. And once we have it, it's going to take months to distribute it to the entire population. I'm more hopeful than ever in the power of science to get us there. But one thing is certain, we can't allow politics to interfere with the vaccine in any way. Americans have had to endure President Trump's incompetence and dishonesty when it comes to testing and personal protective equipment. We can't afford to repeat those fiascos when it comes to a vaccine, when it occurs. The stakes are too high. American families have already suffered and sacrificed too much. So let me be clear. I trust vaccines, I trust scientists, but I don't trust Donald Trump. And at this moment, the American people can't either.
Just want to go into the vaccine distribution. Today, my administration released our detailed national vaccine distribution plan, and that includes a plan to ensure that we swiftly deliver the vaccine directly to America's senior citizens in nursing homes, and it's all set. We have our military lined up, everybody's lined up, and we think that's going to go very nicely. We're very close to that vaccine, as you know, and I think closer than most people want to say, or certainly closer than most people understand. To get the vaccine into the hands of American people, we're fully mobilizing the awesome power of American industry and also our military. This is the largest, fastest, and most advanced vaccine distribution effort in American history by far. I was reading where Biden was saying that, he's going to have a plan. They did so bad on swine flu, you wouldn't even believe it. Take a look at their record on swine flu. In fact, the person that headed it up said it was a total disaster. We're on track to deliver and distribute the vaccine in a very, very safe and effective manner. We think we can start sometime in October. So as soon as it is announced, we'll be able to start. That'll be from mid-October on. Maybe a little bit later than that, but we'll be all set. So as soon as it's given the go-ahead, they're doing trials, as you know, and as soon as it's given the go-ahead, we will get it out, defeat the virus. We've manufactured all of the necessary supplies so that as soon as the FDA approves the vaccine, and as you know, we're very close to that, we'll be able to distribute at least 100 million vaccine doses by the end of 2020, and a large number much sooner than that. I'm calling on Biden to stop promoting his anti-vaccine theories, because all they're doing is hurting the importance of what we're doing. And I know that if they were in this position, they'd be saying how wonderful it is. They're recklessly endangering lives. You can't do that. And again, this is really a case that they're only talking, just started talking a little bit negatively, and that's only because they know we have it, or we will soon have it. And the answer to that is very soon.
Mr. President, earlier today, Dr. Redfield confirmed that it looked like November, December, the first doses would be able to be distributed. But then he said that the vaccine for the general public likely would not be available until probably next summer, maybe even early fall. Are you comfortable with that timeline?
No, I think he made a mistake when he said that. It's just incorrect information. And I called him, and he didn't tell me that, and I think he got the message, maybe confused, maybe it was stated incorrectly. No, we're ready to go immediately as the vaccine is announced, and it could be announced in October, could be announced a little bit after October. But once we go, we're ready. As you know, Pfizer's making this, they're taking a tremendous financial risk, and they're spending billions of dollars on actually making this vaccine. They're in a stage where they're actually making it because they feel very confident as to the results. They'll be announcing their results fairly soon. And no, that's incorrect information.
He was pretty clear in the way he
Yeah,
said it.
well,
and
I
what he
think so,
said.
but I don't think he means that. I don't think when he said it, I believe he was confused. I'm just telling you, we're ready to go as soon as the vaccine happens.
So when do you want to see it available? What would be a timeline
I
that
would
you
say
would be
that,
happy with?
we will start distributing it immediately
But to the general public, not
to the
just
general
others.
public very shortly. Really to the general public immediately. When we go, we go. We're not looking to say, gee, in 6 months, we're going to start giving it to the general public. No, we want to go immediately. No, it was an incorrect statement. I saw the statement. I called him. I said, what did you mean by that? And I think he just made a mistake. He just made a mistake. I think he misunderstood the question, probably.
So if you were to put a timeline on when every person in America will be able to get a vaccine, what would that date be?
I think it would be very soon. I think our distribution process is going to go very quickly. I told you, we've engaged the military. We have a general who's in charge of all logistics, who delivers soldiers. He's a fantastic guy. He's supposed to be fantastic at what he does. And we figure that's better than any company you're going to hire. You can't hire a company like that. And we look to do distribution immediately after we get the word that it's good. And I think they're having tremendous success with the vaccine itself. I think the results will be early and strong. The safety has to be 100%, and we're going to insist on that. And obviously, the companies are going to insist on that also.
So could you put an actual date, like January, February, March?
Scott, what would you think?
Yeah, as I said, the high priority people will have
Sure.
in sometime no later than January. I mean, of course, it depends on when things are approved and the emergency
But what
use
about
is
the,
given.
I'm talking
I
about the low
understand,
priority people.
yeah, I can finish. And then it's anticipated there'll be 700 million doses by end of Q1. That's 700 million doses.
So by the end of March.
That's end of Q1.
Dr. Atlas, do you mind if I ask you a question?
Q1, he said.
President, the director of the CDC also testified today that a mask, in his estimation, is,
The mask.
is guaranteed to protect the American public more from the coronavirus than a vaccine. You have, as detailed, poured a lot of resources into a vaccine development. Why not devote your
And
energy?
to masks.
Why not devote your energy now
Yeah.
to a campaign to have all Americans wear a mask? Something that, if more effective than a vaccine, would also help schools and the economy.
Okay, number one, it's not more effective by any means than a vaccine, and I called him about that. Those were the two things I discussed with him. And I believe that if you ask him, he would probably say that he didn't understand the question because I said to him, I asked him those two questions, the one question which we covered and the mask question. And I was inaccurately covered because I was on with George last night, George Stephanopoulos, and I enjoyed it. I think people enjoyed it. I got, a lot of people said very good things about the show. I hope they did well, but they said a lot of good things about the show, but they always cut my sentences off. They cut it off. On masks, masks have problems too, and I talked about the masks have to be handled very gently, very carefully. I see that in restaurants, there are people with masks, and they're playing around with their mask, and they have it, their fingers are in their mask, and then they're serving with plates. I mean, I think there's a lot of problems with masks. No, vaccine is much more effective than the masks, and if we get the vaccine, we have added to the fact that our numbers are going way down. You see the numbers. I'm just reading you statistics that are from wherever they get them, but they're very highly qualified statistics. But no, the mask is not as important as the vaccine. The mask perhaps helps. Don't forget, a lot of people didn't like the concept of masks initially. Dr. Fauci didn't like them, and a lot of people didn't. And I'm not knocking anybody because I understand both sides of the argument. But when I called up Robert today, I said to him, what's with the mask? He said, I think I answered that question incorrectly. I think maybe he misunderstood it. I mean, you know, you have two questions, maybe he misunderstood both of them. But the answer to the one is it's going to be a much faster distribution than he said. Maybe he's not aware of the distribution process. It's not really his thing as much as it would be, let's say, mine. But the distribution is going to be much faster. As far as the mask is concerned, I hope that the vaccine is going to be a lot more beneficial than the masks, because people have used the masks. But when I looked at that chart that we put up, if you look, you know, we're right. If you do the good job, they had, I guess, 240,000. But if you do the good, if it worked out well, now look, one death is too much. One death is too much. Should have never happened. But the lower level was at that 240,000, between 100 and something and 240,000. As far as the mask is concerned, he made a mistake.
But on the masks, I mean, perhaps they are part of the role for the decrease in cases because they are effective, as you just said. So I know you've warned.
No, they may be effective.
Yeah, sure.
And I wear them when I'm in a hospital or when I'm in a setting with a lot
My
of...
question is, why not wear it more often, or have the White House staff wear it more often to set an example for the country?
Well, I'm tested, and I'm sometimes surprised when I see somebody sitting and, like with Joe, Joe feels very safe in a mask. I don't know, maybe he doesn't want to expose his face. I don't know what's going on. He'll be way away from people, nowhere near people. There'll be nobody with him. He doesn't draw any crowds, so he'll have circles, these big circles. They'll be way far away. There's no reason for him to have masks on. We get tested. I'm tested. I have people tested. When people come into the Oval Office, it's like a big deal. No matter who they are, the heads of countries, they all get tested. So I'm in sort of a different position. And maybe if I wasn't in that position, I'd be wearing it more. But I've worn masks, and especially I like to wear them when I'm in hospital. Not for me so much as for other people. Okay? Thanks.